Welcome to Maple Leaf America from the Windy City, the second city, the city with broad shoulders, Chicago, Illinois. You know, it's been a little hazy, a little gloomy, a little gray around here lately, and I'm not necessarily talking about the weather. I'm talking about the Original Six climate. Yeah, that's right, the Blackhawks not doing so well right about now. But, you know, that's okay, because we'll look at that, but we'll also bring you some happy hockey stories from the state of Illinois. A throwback edition of Maple Leaf America coming up next. We are back on Maple Leaf America, taking a twirl in downtown Chicago at Millennium Park. A beautiful, beautiful evening here in the Windy City, and we have a wonderful show for you. It's kind of a traditional format of Maple Leaf America. Back to our roots, our origins, because we are going to talk to as many Ontario-born hockey players during this program that we possibly can. And we start with a look at the ups and downs of hockey right here in Chicago. The fans are turning out in big numbers. They adore the players. The team's marketing efforts are lauded. Hockey in Chicago with the Wolves.
You know, I don't know what it is. You know, it's my first year in Chicago. I think the Wolves organization, they really they let the fans be a part of the, you know, the game and stuff. And we got a great bunch of guys. And like I said, the Wolves Chicago has always been known for having a winning organization, and you know, it's first class. So I know the players ourselves, we enjoy playing here. It's a great opportunity for us.
They're competitive every year, which is nice to see. And they found their little niche in this city. And there's no reason why there can't be two teams competitive, not against each other, but in their leagues in Chicago. We see it in other places like Philadelphia. So overall, I'm amazed, first of all, that the Blackhawks are where they're at, because it's a storied franchise and a great franchise, but the Wolves have really, in 10 years now, found their place too.
While the Original Six Blackhawks continue to draw about 66% capacity at the enormous United Center, the minor league Wolves are drawing crowds nearly as big northwest of town at the much comfier Rosemont Horizon. The reasons are diverse.
Look at the two teams. I mean, I don't think the Leafs have ever been as bad as the Hawks are, and I mean, they're terrible. They really are. And it's, you know, being a Wolves fan in Chicago for a while, and you know, this is hockey to me here in Chicago. And even when the Hawks were any good, it still wasn't hockey. So this is more than just putting a bad team out there, and you know, it's not worth even going and spending your money there.
But you have to remember, in Chicago, there are no young fans because the home games aren't televised. And this is very difficult to build that fan base. And so you can't even give tickets away, because then they want parking and they want beer money. I mean, that's how desperate it is. So, however, it's a great sport. There's a great tradition here. Unfortunately, we just can't seem to get the players to come here.
Why a Leaf sweater rather than a Blackhawks one?
Well, it's an Original Six team. I've always liked the Leafs since I was small, and the Hawks just don't put out a product anymore. They don't keep any of their talent. They don't want to pay for anybody. Look, over the years, they've gotten rid of guys like Belfour and Roenick and Amante, you name it. I mean, they stay for a few years. They don't want to pay them top dollar, and that's it. You know, they used to be they pack in the place, but now they don't even do that.
Wolves as an alternative?
Definitely. It's a better product. It's more fan-friendly. Better hours. You can bring your kids, like today, a 3 o'clock game, so they can get home and get to bed. It's just much better.
The AHL Wolves draw most of the positive ink in a city where hockey coverage is generally abysmal. The day Maple Leaf America arrived, the only hockey story in the city's largest newspaper was a recap of the effects of a strip club incident involving the Blackhawks a year before.
That was actually a good day for coverage because of the rehash of the incident. You know, the coverage has reflected the interest in the team. You know, you look around and they're not getting crowds of maybe 8,000 to 10,000 on a nightly basis. I mean, they've fallen off the radar screen in the city for the last couple years. They don't really have any identifiable or any superstars that anybody would want to see, and that's being reflected at least in our coverage. It's not. It's fallen way off. It's probably as low as it's been in a long time, about maybe 20 years or so.
Going through some tough times right now, but got to be optimistic, stay positive, and struggle through it. You know, we live in a great city here, and if we get in a roll, win some games, you know, the fans will come out, and it's bottom line.
Bill Wirtz, the owner, needs to go. It's definitely mismanaged right now. They've priced themselves out of the market. It's a lot better time coming here and spending the money here than going into the city.
Obviously, it's not up to us to, and what's going to happen and what transactions you make or signings. But I'm sure Mr. Wirtz wants a winning hockey team here, and he's doing everything fiscally possible to make sure that he's got the best lineup he can every single night. It's an original six hockey team, and there's a lot of pride and history in this franchise. And right now we're in a rebuilding stage, and just seem to be really struggling right now. So. Hopefully we can get things turned around, because Chicago is a great hockey town, and there's a lot of great fans who have been turned off because of the lack of success lately. So hopefully we can get this team back on track and start winning some games and having some winning seasons and fill this arena back up.
And that's not out of the question. During its first 2 seasons in the United Center, Chicago averaged crowds of 20,000 plus. The team was decent, the building was new. Others argue it was simply a blip. It's possible the switch from the old Chicago Stadium affected hockey here more than in any other Original Six venue.
People who come to Hawks games are spoiled by Chicago Stadium. It was such a great place to watch a game. Every game was a fantastic experience. And I think moving into this building, while they had a few good years early in here, it's kind of coincided with the downward spiral of the team. When the Detroit Red Wings come to town, this building is filled, and there's a completely different atmosphere in here. It's actually not a bad place. But on most nights when it's half full, there's just no atmosphere in this building, and it's kind of depressing at times, considering where they came from.
So has 2003-2004 been as low gets? Nope. Throw in organizational and personal tragedy. This season, the Blackhawks lost their chief.
Some of our players, didn't know really Maggie. Some of them did, especially the older guys, as Amnov, Dazes, and a few of them, but most of our young players are here, they don't really know him. And really that week, they found out what he was all about. And really our team during that week played as hard as they ever did all year. And they've done that pretty much all year, but for some reason that week, they were inspired by some of the videos that they show about Maggie and the things that they've heard about him. And, he's inspiration for all of us. I know he is for me, and we'll never forget him, obviously, and it's something that our young players got to think about every day. How great of a team player he was. We all know that he wasn't the best player out there, but certainly his effort and his commitment to his team and his teammate. I mean, and hockey itself. He's one of the best at that.
Unfortunately, tragedy is one thing the Windy City hockey teams have in common. A few months before Keith Magnuson was killed in a car accident, so was former Chicago Wolves forward Dan Snyder, who had just made the big club Atlanta Thrashers full-time.
He was your typical Canadian kid, grew up playing hockey, was a guy who wasn't a highly touted player and basically worked for everything he got. The thing with him, though, I think is, as a hockey player, he was a good player. But I mean, it was away from the rink, the stuff he did in the community, just the type of guy he was, just the type of person I think every guy that's in it as a pro athlete or that type of thing should try to strive to be the way he was. And I mean, it's just a huge loss, and I can't say enough how much I feel for his family and other people that are close to him.
Let's pray that there's nowhere to go but up, off the ice and on. As for the Blackhawks, optimistic fans are hoping the woes are simply cyclical, that a bad time will be followed by a good one.
The Blackhawks to me right now is very similar to when I was with the Leafs with, Harold Ballard and, Bill Wirtz and they're two real good people who've done a lot for the sport, and yet somehow sidetracked by other things and except the hockey itself. And it bothers me a little bit in the sense that, you know, the Blackhawks were once like, you know, always at the top of the thing. I think they went like 30 years or 35 years without missing the playoffs, and now they're struggling a little bit. But the good thing about it is, you know, I see what happened with the Leafs, and you know, once I left, they seemed to turn it around and be perennially, you know, a Stanley Cup contender. And so, although it's a little bit of disappointment now, I know there is a light at the end of the tunnel for the Blackhawks, and you know, if they get a few more good players in and willing to spend a little bit more money, you know, very similar to the Leafs, if they use the Leafs as a role model, I think the franchise can rebound very quickly.
My goodness, the hockey fans here in Chicago have waited a long time for a Stanley Cup since 1961, but it pales in comparison to the baseball fans on the north side who have not seen their Cubs win a World Series since 1908. We're coming up on 100 years of a baseball drought. It's pretty amazing stuff. Stay with us, much more ahead, including a visit to the Leech Lady. That's right. And also we'll talk to another dozen and a half Ontario-born professional hockey players on this edition of Maple Leaf America, so stay with us.
A little bit of a Leafs fan, but never really had a favorite player. Obviously, Joe Gilmore was one of my favorite players I looked up to, but you know, never really rooted for them. Kind of jumped in the bandwagon come playoff time, not going to lie to you.
Hi, my name is Jason Frankel. I'm from Thunder Bay, Ontario. My favorite Maple Leaf is Wolf Paymont. I'd like to say hi to my mom and dad in Toronto and my brother in Toronto, Lisa, Matthew, and Kelsey back in Thunder Bay.
Hi, my name is Kelly. I'm from Chicago. Hope you're enjoying the show. Did you see the patch yet? Hold on. It's coming up. We'll be right back.
Ah, Chicago's famous L train. The elevated train. You can take it anywhere in the city or out of the city, except to, of course, Springfield, which is where we're headed right now for this week's travelogue with the Leech Lady. Her name is Barbara Mason. She's the English-born curator of the Pearson Museum of Medical History at Southern Illinois University Medical School. Through the speeches she delivers and the fame she has received around the country because of the subject matter, Barbara has earned the moniker Leech Lady.
They're very clever little creatures. They're very knowing, so that if I take the lid off there, they'll be out pretty quickly. The great advantage to me is that I never have my audiences go to sleep, because as you can see, I've got a note on them saying they're very hungry. We, of course, have to keep them hungry, so they'll be active if we want to use them. And it is true, if I took the lid off that jar now, they'd be out of here.
Really?
Out of there, probably seeking your leg or something.
Bloodletting with leeches for medicinal purposes has experienced a strong revival over the last 10 to 12 years.
We provide the hospitals with them, and they're used when they reattach ear, noses, toes, fingers, arms, even scalps, when people have been traumatized badly, injured badly, and we provide them, and we have most brilliant surgeons here who, with their microscopes, can do a wonderful job of stitchery, reattaching things. But unless you get the blood supply going, say from one's ear to the face and back again, you know, it'll just get a cauliflower ear, probably, and or something like it, and would engorge and not take. So these leeches do just a miraculous job in helping our surgeons. One surgeon did tell me he had a slight case of hysterics with a woman once when he was going to use them. But as I say, you know, you've read adventure stories where people come out of ponds with them on them and they don't know they're there because they inject their own anesthesia when they bite you. And the only little tiny, tiny scar they leave is the sign of a Mercedes-Benz car.
Of course, in olden days, bloodletting via leeches and through other means actually killed more people than it helped.
And in early days, if you had a bad headache or a stomach ache or anything like that, it was the demons that got into you. So bloodletting, this is one way of doing bloodletting, or other ways they would go straight into the veins and arteries and so on. It's one way of letting the demons out. The same reason they did trephining or trepanning, drilling a hole in the head, which I could do that for you if you've got a headache from your long journey, to let the demons out. That's Larry. He's named after my dermatologist. This is Letitia, Lucretia, and Lillian. And Lola, she seems to have...
So you keep these particular ones for lectures?
Yes, mainly. I mean, if they were desperate, they would take them.
The Medical History Museum should be renamed The History of Blood and Gore, because until Canadian Dr. William Osler, the father of modern medicine, came along, there wasn't much pretty going on.
This is a Civil War amputation kit. As you can see, it was very well used. It was made in 1853 in London, but we know it was used in the Civil War. And if you look at the wooden handles, they have a rosy sort of hue about them. Mm-hmm. So no attempt was made at sterilization. Had they done so, probably the wooden handles would have disappeared. And the same with the tourniquet. Look at it. All the blood and mess on it, because they just didn't know about the germ theory. That's Fritz. And he was actually brought back from Germany from Dr. Armstrong, that gentleman whose photograph is over there. And as you can see, he's been prepared for anatomical study. But what staggers me is how much flesh and flab and fat we make those fragile-looking bones carry around. Isn't it amazing? I mean, they look so fragile. But, well, he's very popular. The children love Fritz.
And everyone loves the Leech Lady.
Exactly.
The Leech Lady has a pretty cool museum there in Springfield, but it pales in comparison to the volume of material here in Chicago. Museums, 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 some of the best in the world, including the planetarium here right on Lake Michigan. Much more ahead. Stay with us.
Hi, my name's Steph from Peterborough, Ontario, and my favorite all-time Leaf is Doug Gilmour, and I just wanted to say hi to my mom and dad and all my sisters back in Peterborough missing me here in Chicago.
Enjoying Chicago and having a stroll here on Michigan Avenue on Maple Leaf America. But of course, we're not done talking hockey. In fact, we took a few moments and drove down to Peoria, Illinois for the East Coast Hockey League All-Star game, and we talked to all of the Ontario boys. Your Ontario native ECHL Western Conference All-Stars.
Hi, I'm Joey Talbot from Wanapitei, Ontario. I play right wing for the Alaska Aces.
Who's your all-time favorite Leaf?
My all-time favorite Leaf would have to be Doug Gilmour. I think you know, growing up in a little town like Wanapitei, that's the only hockey we could get to watch, so it was nice to see little Dougie Gilmour wheeling around out there.
Name's Greg Jacina. I play for the Augusta Lynx.
You're originally from where?
Oh, originally from Guelph, Ontario, and I would have to say I definitely grew up as a Leaf fan. One of my favorite players, I would have to say, would definitely have to be Alexander McGillney. It's too bad that he's hurt right now, but I just enjoyed watching him play. I like his speed and his stick handle.
Hi, I'm Andrew Iannero from Hamilton, Ontario. I'm here representing the Bakersfield Condors. It's my first year with Bakersfield. It was second year here at the All-Star game. Definitely not a Leafs fan growing up. I was a big Detroit Red Wings fan, so the rivalry there definitely didn't mix too well. Probably my biggest Leaf moment would have to be Borishevsky when he scored that overtime winner against Detroit. It's not a happy moment, but it's my most memorable Leaf moment.
Hello, my name is Brent Gover. I play for the Mississippi Seawolves. I grew up in Sudbury, Ontario, and my favorite Toronto Maple Leafs player is Joe Nieuwendyk. I've always liked Joe Nieuwendyk, and the only reason I like Joe Nieuwendyk is because Doug Gilmour doesn't play anymore.
Hi, my name's Ben Story. I'm from Ottawa, Ontario. I play for the Louisiana Ice Skaters, and sorry, what else?
You didn't like the Leafs, eh?
No, I certainly didn't like the Leafs growing up. It was before Ottawa came into town. I was a Montreal fan. Our family's always been a Montreal fan. So Leafs suck.
Hey, my name's Dan Ellis. I play with the Idaho Steelheads, representing the Western Conference. I grew up just north of Toronto. Big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Looking forward to seeing them win a cup this year, and you know, just trying to have a good game here in the All-Star game. Have a lot of fun.
How you doing? Dave Kornakia from Toronto, Ontario. I grew up playing minor hockey in Toronto. Right now I'm playing for the Idaho Steelheads in Boise, Idaho. Favorite Leaf moment was when Leafs went to the conference finals in '93, and I loved watching Doug Gilmour play as a kid.
Hi, my name is Dave Kuzno. I'm from Waterloo, Ontario. I play for the Las Vegas Wranglers. And I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan.
Who's your favorite guy?
Favorite guy growing up, maybe Guy Carbonneau.
Greg Chambers, Toronto, Ontario, Pensacola Ice Pilots. Favorite team growing up was Toronto Maple Leafs. Leaf fan, obviously, hometown. Doug Gilmour, favorite player growing up.
Your Ontario native ECHL Eastern Conference All-Stars.
I'm Randy Rowe from the Peoria Rivermen. Played here for the last 3 years. Hometown's Burford, Ontario. It's a big Leaf fan growing up. Favorite player probably growing up was Wayne Gretzky.
I'm Dusty Jameson from the Charlotte Checkers, from Forest, Ontario, Canada. I was not a Leafs fan growing up. My favorite player with the Leafs would have been Wendell Clark.
What's your favorite ECHL road city?
My favorite ECHL road city would have to be Florida.
Obvious reasons.
Obvious reasons. My name is Corey Campbell. I play for the Johnstown Chiefs. My hometown is Stratford, Ontario. There's a lot of Leaf fans around there, however, I'm not one of them. I've never been one of them. I think it's just because there's so many fans around, it's no fun if everyone's cheering for the same team, so I think I gotta cheer for the other team that's playing against them. So.
All right, I'm Mark McRae. Play for the Florence Pride here at the All-Star Game, the East Coast Hockey League All-Star Game. I'm from Toronto. I love the Leafs, and Joe Nundick's my favorite player.
What about Leafs TV? Family watches it religiously?
Of course, every night. Every night it's on.
Elaborate on your favorite player.
Elaborate on my favorite. Okay, Joe Nundick went to school at Cornell University, where I also went. Really excited to see us acquire him in the off-season this year. A lot of heart, a lot of soul. It's what we needed to bring this team to the Stanley Cup.
My name's John Zion. I'm from Nepean, Ontario, and I'm playing for the Reading Royals this year. Growing up, I always admired Steve Yzerman. He's also from Nepean, and he's just such a great leader, and he carries himself so well with so much class.
Second straight All-Star game.
Yeah, I was here last year, actually in Florida, and it was a good time, so I'm happy to be back.
Hi, I'm Jason Maleko. I play for the Cincinnati Cyclones. I'm from Windsor, Ontario. Growing up, my favorite team was the Detroit Red Wings. My favorite player was Steve Yzerman. He was a great two-way player, a great leader, and he was my role model growing up.
Odds of a Wings-Leafs final this year?
I think pretty good, actually. From being in Windsor, half the city loves Detroit and half the city loves Toronto, so it'd be a great rivalry. I'd love to see it happen.
Ah, yes, dreams can come true at all levels. Congratulations, All-Stars. Time for farewell from the Windy City, and thank goodness it's not that windy today, because I'll tell you what, it is cold as Flin Flon, Manitoba, as cold as hell, Michigan here right now. I would not want to be taking a dip in Lake Michigan, because it would be my final dip. No question about that. Hey, did you see the Team Furier patch? It was with the Leech Lady at the Medical History Museum inside the laboratory. Next week, we're in Minnesota for the All-Star Game. We look forward to seeing you for that next week right here on MLA. Bye-bye.